Eastern and Western, that's really what it breaks down to. Eastern and Western, not Chinese versus American, but Eastern and Western, because east of Germany, it becomes Eastern. And then west of Germany, it becomes Western, essentially. Western thinking and Eastern thinking are completely different. Night and day, just like you said. It's so different, we can't even contextualize it with words. The only way to really understand how fundamentally different they are is to do some research yourself. But to your point, Western, one hallmark of Western society is brash, vocal, fast-moving change. That's Western. Eastern thinking is slow, methodical, permanent change. So in the West, we're like, hey, we'll change our president every 4 years. And in the East, they're like, how can we get to another emperor? That's kind of the difference between the two thinking, right? What's important to understand is the United States right now is like the horse in a horse race that's in front. It's great to be in front. It's great to be the winner at the finish line. But throughout the whole race, when you're in first place, all you are is the number one threat to everybody else. Every other horse is trying to beat you. And if another horse gets close to you, to everybody watching the race, it looks like you're losing. Even if you're still in first place, if you go from being a minute ahead of the first horse to 30 seconds ahead of the first horse, right? If you just close the gap, you're still winning, but to everybody observing, you might lose. Nobody's saying that's the winning horse. They're all saying that horse might lose. The United States has been in the that horse might lose category since the end of World War II, right? What people need to understand is American supremacy is the supremacy that we know. It's the supremacy that has created the current world order. Whether you like it or not, that's the way it is. As anybody else, China, Russia, or anyone, get closer to being equal, America loses. You lose, I lose, every American loses, because with every inch that China becomes closer to equality with the United States loses leverage. We lose the ability to maintain superiority in price negotiations. We lose economic superiority. We have all the other countries of the world can choose whether or not they want to buy American goods or Chinese goods, American tech or Chinese tech, American cars or Chinese cars, right? They decide, do they want American doctors or Chinese doctors? And as we call it parity, as we approach parity, the closer we get to parity, the faster it arrives, because people start to switch over. Remember when Apple was the only smartphone? Everybody had an iPhone. Well, then Android created a phone, and then people started to slowly come over. And now as Android continues to reach parity with iPhone, people come over by the millions, tens of thousands, and they're switching back and forth all the time. The same thing happens on a geopolitical scale. So will Nigeria side with the United States or Russia? Or the United States or China? Will Argentina side with the United States or China? Will you name it, any country, Indonesia, Mongolia, Vietnam, who will they side with? And every time they side with one country, all of their economic power, their military power, their intelligence, their voter base, it all goes to the other side. Once parity is reached, in reality, when parity is reached, that doesn't mean your children, my children have to learn Chinese. It does mean that they will want to learn Chinese, right? It means that our level of being ahead of everybody else is less. So Chinese goods can become more expensive. American goods going to China can be reduced because there'll be more tariffs, right? All of a sudden, we will not necessarily have the technological superiority of American search engines, American cell phones, American tablets, because now there's going to be the pervasiveness of foreign tablets and foreign search engines and foreign technology. That doesn't mean that the movies make you feel like all of a sudden a light switch is going to flip and you're going to have to live in a bunker. That's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is my kids speak English. They speak only English as their primary language, but they're exploring French and Spanish because it's fun. Their kids might have to learn Chinese. It might be a requirement for their adult success to learn that language. not because they want to be successful, but because it is the bare minimum of what they'll need to be equipped for their world. Because maybe the best financial institutions, the best banks in the world will be Chinese banks. Maybe the instructions inside the vehicle are going to be Chinese. And if anybody thinks I'm fucking crazy, do you know what language is the language of aviation all over the world? English. If you're a Russian pilot, guess what you have to learn? English. If you're a German pilot, guess what you have to learn? English. If you want to fly a plane across an international border, guess what language you have to speak? English, right? If you want to drive a tank, you have to speak English anywhere in the world, right? People don't understand. Like, what I'm saying isn't that crazy. It's already demonstrated to be true, because the language of, at least the language of piloting, is English. But so is the language of law, so is the language of health and wealth and healthcare. Like, people all over the world are already learning English because they have to in order to have even the remotest hope for success. So it's not crazy to think that as we reach a world where more than one superpower exists, we would be forced to learn more than one language in order to have minimum success. So the last part of your question, Connor, I'm talking too much, I'm sorry. The last part of my question is, how do I plan to handle that? I plan to raise my children to speak the top 3 most common languages in the world, right? And those 3 most common languages are English, Spanish, and French. I know everybody says that China's like spoken by more people. Yes, Chinese is spoken by more people because China is so big. But when it comes to being able to live in different countries, English, Spanish, and French will let you live in pretty much every country in the world. So I plan on letting my children, at their leisure and at their interest level, learn those 3 languages. We plan on leaving the United States. We plan on leaving the United States before 2030 because the United States has some growing to do. Let's not forget, we're less than 300 years old. China's more than 5,000 years old. We're basically in middle school. And I hated middle school, right? As a country, we're basically in middle school. We're wearing sweatpants, but we have an erection and we don't know how to hide it. And we don't want anyone to see it, but it still feels kind of good when we walk. Like, everybody hates middle school. I would like to take my children to a nice, safe, neutral third country where being an American gives them super advantages because the American dollar is strong. People believe in the American ideology. People believe in American freedom. I'd rather go to a country like that for 4 or 5 years while the United States figures its shit out. Because right now, like, we are a chaotic and confused country. We don't know whether we want to be a democracy or whether we want to be an autocracy. Because if you think about it, on both liberal and conservative politics, they both basically want to eradicate the other, which would turn us into a one-party system, which is really an authoritarian country, right? So people aren't thinking it through yet. They will eventually think it through. I don't plan on letting my children grow up in a country that hasn't identified its own self-identity yet. So we'll go travel the world. We'll live in Costa Rica. We'll live in Portugal. We'll live in Spain. We'll visit the Middle East, right? We'll go travel the world and see how fucked up everyone else is, so that when we come back here, no matter how chaotic we are, we understand the values and importance of American freedom, right? And American purpose. We can be global citizens and also carry an American passport. And that's my personal goal with my family, because we've developed the wealth, we've developed the resources, we've developed the capacity to be able to do that because we've broken out of that shed.
Freedom! So fresh on me. Freedom!